OnPoint Fencing welcomes head coach Daria Schneider to the NCAA fencing world and to the Ivy League. Coach, your success as an athlete is substantial. A 5-time U.S. national team member as a women's saber fencer, an NCAA national champion at Columbia, a USA fencing national champion. How do you take all of that experience, all of that success, and now shift your focus to finding athletes who can kind of follow in those steps?
Well, I think that Ivy League is really, really special in that you just get such interesting athletes interested in your school. It's just such a range, and they all have such different interests, and they're so driven, both academically and athletically. And I just really look for people who love fencing. When I was looking at colleges and deciding where to go, I knew how big a part of my life I wanted fencing to be, and I just really loved fencing, and I still do, which is why I'm still involved with fencing. And so I look for people who love fencing and also just have really, interests that just inspire me and things that I like to talk to them about, and they enjoy talking to me, because I think that having that chemistry where you have something that is some common ground and some ways to relate to each other only further inspires that hard work and that passion and that drive to win at every level.
Coach Miller of North Carolina, UNC, one of the winningest coaches of all time. Actually, I think the winningest, just ahead of...
Someone I've always looked up to. I remember him from when I was 13 years old. Yep.
And certainly a fixture. Now will be a coaching colleague of yours at the NCAA level.
I'm
honored. He, along with another interview with Coach Michael Offrichtig of Columbia, both talked about some of the things they look for at these events of prospective student athletes, and how really there's, yes, of course, a focus on the fencer, but as well on the person, how they behave on the strip, how they carry themselves. How critical is that to you, and how do you hope to mold them into improving in both areas?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it's really important to have kids that have a great attitude, because when you're on a team, it's not just about you, and fencing is an individual sport, but when you're fencing in college, every time you're up fencing, you might be winning your bout, but maybe you get only one touch against you, but you get that one touch against you, and you show a lot of frustration or anger, and you're not being that positive. Just that attitude can have a real strong impact on your teammates. And so as a college athlete, it's really important to maintain a certain, to carry yourself in a certain way. And so that's extremely important, and definitely a big part of what I look for when watching people compete, but and also how they conduct themselves one-on-one, because you want people who are going to inspire other people and make other people feel like they're part of something special, and that maybe even they lose a really, really close, tough bout, 5-4, but they come off the strip and they're just ready to focus on that next person fencing that next bout, getting as many touches as that next person can.
And Coach, the NCAA fencing scene has really evolved in the last few years. It's a very diverse field. You have success from the Ivy League in Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, success from the Big Ten in Ohio State and Penn State, but also success from the ACC foe in Notre Dame. As an Ivy League school, how does Cornell position itself, and what might a young high school fencer, what do they have to possess to kind of fit the bill for the Ivy League and Cornell in particular?
So I think that I don't totally understand your question.
Sorry, so with it as such a diverse field, with so many options for a high school fencer to pursue, what might be appealing about Cornell and why they would choose Cornell?
What sets Cornell apart?
What sets Cornell apart?
Okay. Yeah, well, Cornell is actually a really, really unique school. It's an Ivy League school, but it's really the only Ivy League school that has such diverse offerings, and it's an extremely rural area, and so you can go there and major in agricultural studies. You can go there and you can go to a specific school for hospitality and hotel management. So there's a real rich diversity of things you can study, and there are 7 different colleges, and each of them has a different area of focus. And I think so. I think the location really sets Cornell apart. It's in a really beautiful, remote, rural area, and Dartmouth is the only other Ivy League that really has that, but it doesn't have fencing. And then it's the only Ivy League school that has that ability to go to school for agricultural science or to go to school for hotel management. And so those are just two examples, but it's just an extremely diverse place for what it offers for you to study.
It's also my understanding that Cornell is unique in the fact they have some sort of special tuition component within the state of New York.
Yeah, so if you're a New York resident, some of the colleges, including the AIM, the school where the agricultural studies are, those schools are considered state schools, even though they're part of Cornell. So it's an Ivy League degree, an Ivy League education, but if you live in New York, you can actually pay state tuition, which is incredible. I'm sure that everyone is aware of how expensive private school tuition is right now. So it's a pretty amazing benefit.
All right, Coach. Well, exciting to have you there as the newest addition, and best of luck to you this year.